very close to me. I used to be a travel agent, so I thought I'd invite Dean, who is the ex-CEO of the AOA, now the CEO of the Australian Federation of Travel Agents, to bring on the market, up on stage, some amazing corporate travel agents who, just to see what's happening out there in the corporate travel market with rates and everything. So please welcome to the stage a long friend of mine, Penny. I've known her for, God, a long time. Penny Spencer, Managing Director of Spencer Travel. John Thompson, Head of Commercial for Minor Hotels. David Goldman, Joint Managing Director of Goldman Group. And Tass, Messinis, Managing Director of Australia BCD Travel. Please welcome on stage. Good to see you.
I think we've got enough seats. Penny, prime position. Gotta love it. Well, the first person on the caption is going to be John, because it's always, in the photos, it's always the person on the right-hand side of the photos whose names go first.
Okay.
So good positioning there. So a really interesting panel that we've got here today. We've got a hotelier, which is great, and then three of the leading corporate travel agencies around Australia. So we're going to have a bit of a chat about what's been going on in the corporate space, what a recovery is going to be looking like, what are our clients telling us that they're looking for, and some insights about what recovery is going to look like, and also some feedback on how we're dealing with hotel groups and what we've experienced that needs to be evolved post-COVID. Because I think we can all agree COVID has been a shuttering stop to everybody's businesses. There isn't a person in this room that's experienced less than 90% downturn in revenue, and we're in the same boat as you guys. So to kick off, I'm going to start with you, John. Minor Group, an incredible hotel brand portfolio of hotels around Australia. What are you finding from a corporate perspective, and what's it looking like, and what are they looking for in your products?
From an Australian and New Zealand point of view, obviously the corporate market was decimated throughout the pandemic. Most of those people have started to recover now. From a resourcing point of view, they were fairly steady all the way through. So in terms of regional corporate up into Queensland, that was remained fairly steady. We forecasted for this year up to 60 to 70 to 75% recovery going into Q3, Q4. That's our expectation, that's our need, that's our budgeted levels. What they're looking for now, from my point of view, in the conversations I've been having, is still security, is still understanding that for me, hygiene has become a hygiene factor. Like all these things we've put out into the market, you know, we've got Oak Shore Stay, Varney Shield. They're standard now. They should be absolutely normal. What they're looking for is now frictionless arrival, frictionless travel, so that there is no barriers to travel. So they can, when they do travel, and we've been talking about whether people are doing short haul, just one-day trips, or they're doing longer trips, they want it to be able to be as seamless and as simple as possible.
David, and you've just come back from Europe, and so you've had some experiences across London and other parts of Europe at trade shows, and I was talking about that in the last session where business events has started to come back. And those hygiene factors John was talking about, what are your clients telling you about that booking process, and how are they looking at making their accommodation decisions with those hygiene factors and that seamless entry?
I think that's always been important, but certainly now it's there's a high emphasis on cleanliness. We have a booking tool we use, Zeno, which actually lists sort of different cleaning techniques and if a property has different floors perhaps that focus more on that. So I think that's really interesting, that's definitely a deciding factor in the hotel world that, you know, kind of was always on page 11, maybe page 12 of our RFPs, but now it's number one. Also properties that are walking distance to offices, so rather than getting public transport, getting in a cab. I think that we're getting asked more and more now for properties that are close to offices. But that to me, certainly now being in Italy as well, obviously checking into a room, there's always, you know, a hand sanitizer, there's always a reaffirmation that, you know, you're in good hands with us because we follow this and this. One property actually did a pillow drop, which was really interesting about what they're doing to sanitize the property. So I think that was, you know, people want to be rest assured, that our corporate travellers want to be rest assured that, you know, they're staying in a property and that obviously less chance to catch COVID.
Tass, from a multinational perspective, I mean, you're a multinational travel company. We've got Goldman and Spencer Travel here, who are both major domestic Australian, New Zealand players. But does that vary for you as a multinational travel management company? And what are you hearing from your clients around the world and what they're looking for?
Yeah, I think that overall there's no difference, to be honest with you. The duty of care, cleanliness, frictionless entry into hotels and check-ins. So digital is definitely what a lot of our corporate and multinational customers are looking for. The information to be freely available on whatever tools or whatever they want to use to be able to book a hotel, and have that level of engagement and the intuitiveness of a system that allows them to be able to select the right property for them and for their travellers. I think that's really key. So when we talked about, John was talking about frictionless, there is a lot of systems, a lot of hotel management systems, GDSs that take on all of that content, and being able to display that in a way that a traveller can really look at that and say, okay, this is where I want to stay because it has, a wellness programs, it's got a gymnasium, I can use my iPhone or any type of device to actually check in, bypassing the front desk. I've got the ability to be able to get very close to my office. And so these are really key elements that I think that, a lot of travellers are looking for today. And, being able, it's very difficult though to be able to have a frictionless experience because in a lot of cases you need to take in a lot of that information from multiple channels. So whether it's a GDS system, whether it's an online booking tool, etc., the ability for us as an industry, and specifically whether it's corporate travel, whether it's the hotel industry or systems providers that deliver that information, it's extremely important to have open networks, APIs that allow us to take that information into our systems so our corporate travellers can have that choice and to be able to feel confident in travelling again. And I think that's the key word today, is getting that business confidence back. A lot easier when you're travelling for leisure, but in a corporate world where duty of care is at the top of mind of a lot of board members these days, and I think that that's really a key point that we all need to be aware of, and as an industry come together to be able to deliver the type of information that's readily available for corporate travellers.
Penny, on that duty of care coming together, we're very close, aren't we? It's like good, because it feels very weird after not seeing anybody in person for 2 years to be sitting 10 centimetres away. But what have you seen sort of work well through this pandemic, where you've got that duty of care? We've still been processing travellers across the world, and you've been a huge part of that role. What have you seen worked well over the last 2 years in getting people to travel, getting those APIs that Tass has just spoken about, getting that flow of information? That's going to be key to a symbiotic relationship that we've got with our suppliers and our suppliers have with us. And so what have you seen that's worked well through this, and what would you like to see into the future?
Well, I think, first of all, the hoteliers have been incredible throughout COVID. I mean, keeping us up to date, keeping our staff up to date with everything that they needed to know about protocols, hygiene, all of the things that we've been talking about. Things, for instance, like the corporates, they want to know that the club level is open, or that the gym is open, or if the gym's not open, what are the hours? So moving forward, it's just a continuation of communication, knowing exactly what's happening in the marketplace with the hotels and the resorts, because the corporates and the leisure want to know when they're going to a hotel that it's open, that it's not half open, that it's staffed correctly. There's nothing worse than paying full price and not getting full service.
So, I mean, that's a really interesting segue, because everybody in this room has exactly the same issue as everybody on stage, which is an unemployment rate with a 3 in front of it means we can't get enough people to do the work that we need to do across all of our businesses. John, I'll throw back to you on this one from an operator perspective, and then I'll move down the line if we're comfortable with that from a skills perspective. What are you guys doing to attract people back into your hotels to work, to provide that experience that Penny's just spoken about? That we've got to be honest, we're a high charging destination in Australia. We have a higher price point than most other parts of the world. We have a high level of perceived that we need to get from that? And are there things that minor groups doing to particularly appeal to that high price point corporate customer that you want to highlight?
Across Asia, yes, absolutely, from the Avani and the Anantara brands particularly, adding value into that corporate travel. They're much more of a leisure base, but they're looking to grow their corporate from that point of view. In terms of value adds into room product or into the F&B pod, from the Oaks brand down here, in terms of growing our corporate, it's much around price point and being, because a lot of people are now trying to, from our point of viewpoint, is have a reduction in their travel spend, but for good value for money. So from our point of view, what we offer from a product point of view is the space. So I think someone earlier on was talking about having a longer length of stay. That's what we're really sort of pushing at the moment, is you can come in, you can sit, you can stay with us for a longer period of time, cook your own. We've got our development partners with Deliveroo and also Coles, making sure that they, when people are staying with us, they can actually cook for themselves. They don't have to go out, they don't have to go into the food and beverage outlets if they don't want to. So from that point of view, from a corporate traveller, you can travel safely and securely with us for a longer length of stay.
Tass, what are you finding from your perspective on that? One, sort of that battle for skills, but then where are you finding hotel groups that are really moving the dial on making it easier for your clients to have a longer length of stay and get that price point? Because we all want to grow the pie. We're not looking to decrease it again. So what are you finding?
Yeah, I think that, overall, and if I could speak about the corporate market, I mean, we were having this discussion outside. The talent crunch is definitely there. We're all sort of looking for talent to come back as we see the travel demand come back from a lot of our clients. The other side too is that, in speaking to a lot of hoteliers, they're going through the same issues. So I think that overall, what we're seeing right now is that, the way that you promote your brand in the marketplace is extremely important. We are seeing that a lot of our corporate clients, and we've got some very large, we've got 2 of the 4 major banks that we support and service here in Australia. So we're not just a global travel management company, but what we're seeing here is the fact that I think there's a level playing field right now. I think that the whole playing field has changed. I think the pandemic has allowed a lot of corporate clients to look at hotels and accommodation and where they place their people in a different way. They're looking for more flexible arrangements, and I think that there's, as John was mentioning, I think it's more about the fact that CFOs of the world are saying, wow, fantastic. I've been able to actually reduce my total T&E, and I'm still doing, in some industries, the same amount of business that I was in 2019. So these are the challenges that are being hit by a lot of corporates. And I think that overall, what we're seeing right now is the ability for, smaller chains to punch above their weight. We're seeing that corporates are now bringing in, smaller, more boutique hotels into their programs. And I think this is really important, that a lot of travellers now are looking for something different. I think well-being is going to be an extremely important part of everything that you do, from being able to promote, moving forward. I just take myself as an example. I went to Brisbane recently. I usually stay at the Marriott because it's really close to our office, but I didn't want that experience anymore. I wanted something, and I'm sorry if there's anyone from the Marriott here. I love Marriott, right?
Hopefully Sean's not downstairs.
But I wanted to try something different, right? I wanted something that means that when I get to the hotel, I don't want to be in that sort of corporate room with the desk in front of me where I put my laptop on and I continue working until 11 o'clock at night with the footy on and the TV in the background. I wanted to relax. I wanted to make sure there was a gym or a swimming pool, something like that. And I think that that's the key changes that we're seeing overall. And so when I talk about the level playing field, those players that are able to now be agile and pivot as demand comes back, I think will be clear winners.
Can I just add to that? We've never said, we don't say hotel suppliers, we say hotel partners. And over the past couple of years, when we needed, someone say got COVID, they were within cancellation policy, I think we're members of over 18 or 19 preferred hotel programs. Everyone was so accommodating to our customers, but also us, because, you know, we were being thrown in so many different directions, like plate spinners. And so that was really important, you know, those waivers, those favours, like they come through and they're great, but we really, really appreciate that, especially in times when they were just, the big word, unprecedented. Like it was, I'd never seen anything like it. You know, working in our family business for, I think this is my 26th year, I've never seen the support that we were given over the past 2 years. So thank you to all our partners.
I agree with that.
It was fun. That was one of the things that really came through in our pre-discussion for this panel, was the fact that the hotel partners have been one of the best parts of the tourism and visitor economy in regards to the responsiveness of changes, navigating it together, and a true togetherness, which may not have been there for other parts of the industry at the really early beginnings, when we were trying to work out who had the money and where it was going. So I think it's a really important thing to call out.
And not cutting our commission.
And not cutting commissions. I'm already on a hit list for Qantas, so I'm not allowed to comment on that anymore. As we come out of this, though, Penny, I mean, we are in the battle for a very similar pool of talent. So there's a limited number of travel professionals or visitor economy professionals that can quite easily work in hotel reservations and can quite happily work as travel consultants. How do we grow out of this together? What do you think the answer is in attracting people into an industry where for the last 2 years, all of us have been saying, we'll help you find another job. We want to keep you, but we can't keep you. What do you think the answer to that's going to be? And is there something we can be doing together?
Well, I think everyone wants flexibility. That's the new word. So we have to be flexible and allow our staff to, you know, if they want to work from home or work less days, whatever it might be. But I think as an industry, we need to work together. I mean, obviously I run a mentor program, time industry mentor program, and working together with training and pivoting people. I think that's the key as well. So if you have someone that wants to come into the industry that worked in construction, so what? Let's give them a go. I'm working with someone at the moment who works at the RSPCA, and she wants to get into travel. So, you know, you've just got to look beyond what we used to do, which was, oh, have you got 3 years experience? Oh, sorry, if you don't, we're not interested. So I think it's really looking outside the square.
David, from your perspective, how do you think it's going to work?
I completely agree. So we used to have not blinkers, but there was always a certain DNA that we would employ, be it, you know, corporate, leisure, online, account management, and now I've broadened that because we have to, number one, but also I think we're looking at different skill sets now within our business that will help us sort of plan for the future. And so looking ahead sort of 6 months, 12 months time, we're investing more in automation. We know what lies ahead. So we want to bring in different skill sets to help complete that.
I think we're coming close to time. I think it's 25 past when we have to be. I'm looking for someone. No, I've got the keep going from Adrian. Good to see. I'll continue to go then. One of the things I think it's a really good opportunity in these forums is to have a really open dialogue about what we need from our hotel partners moving forward in regards to technology solutions and the flow of information. And Tass, you spoke about that earlier, about that need for integrated APIs and those type of activities. And John, I'm going to get you to finish this section to say, what do you need from corporate travel companies to make it easier for you guys to make that work? So without going into too much commercial detail, if there was a wish list of things, Tass, that you would say top of the list to help us get more people into hotels from a corporate perspective, what would you be needing? And then David and Penny, it's been a very long week and it's only Tuesday. And if you can add on to that, and then we'll throw to John at the end and say, what do you need from us? Because it's important to have this two-way dialogue.
Yeah, I think that top of mind for us right now, I mean, obviously, we talked a little bit about, APIs. I know that there's a myriad of hotel management systems out there, but being able to be able to connect and be able to provide that sort of level of information that's required for corporates to be able to book is extremely important. But one pain point that I've seen that's popped up probably before the pandemic, but is actually now starting to really rear its head again as travel demand comes up, is virtual payments. We're seeing a lot of, and we talk about friction, we see a lot of friction in that system, being able to have that seamless integration of a form of payment now that's being not only used but being demanded by a lot of corporate customers around Australia and obviously around the world. So being able to have a seamless integration and to have hotels that are readily accepting that as you would a Visa or a MasterCard is extremely important for large corporates. It allows them to have a level of detail and data that they didn't have before, and it also protects both the hotel and the corporation in having a one-time credit card facility available at check-in. And I think that's really important. And I'll just finish off by saying, you know, when we talk about frictionless, I think that there are two things that come to mind for me. One is obviously having a seamless experience, which is where we all want to get to. But frictionless for me means that sometimes friction is not a bad thing. Because what happens is that when you have friction, it creates energy. And where there's energy, you get the opportunity to have momentum to build a solution that actually helps, you know, the industry, whether that's corporate travel management and hotels. So what I would say to you is that if you see friction, you know, in that part of that ecosystem or the supply chain, where, you know, corporate travel management companies can work better with hotels, then that's the energy that we need to be able to kind of come up with these solutions. You know, virtual payments is just one of those.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, same.
Virtual payments are definitely always keeping us, gets a bit spicy at times. Because
Spicy, that's
Yeah.
a good way. I've worked in payments for a
perhaps
long
not-
time. It's
not-
spicy.
Yeah,
I
not
like
everyone in the chain has been trained, and so quite often, I'd say every week, we're getting calls from hotels for payment when, you know, when we go through the audit trail, the virtual payments have been sent through, and probably parity on rates. I mean, if, you know, the old, you know, we can get this online for this, and ours is more, that's, you know, it is what it is there, and quite often, you know, we will work with our hotel partners, and it's never really an issue once we have the conversation. Yeah, so that's probably the two areas.
Penny?
Yeah, I'd agree with all of those. The virtual payment, yes, that's a pain. And obviously commission payments, you know, getting those through on time when people check out instead of us having to chase and chase and chase.
I almost feel like this is a right of reply on behalf of the room, John. I'm sure you guys will have an opportunity to. But what's something which we can be doing better as a travel distribution companies, which is what we are? Are there things that you think we can be doing better to work with you guys as partners?
To echo the point that was made earlier on, I think over the last 2 years, the partnership between hotels and TMCs has strengthened enormously. And for me, the four big things with our relationship is partnership, communication, data, and insight. And that has been something that has been free-flowing over the last 2 years, because we've all been under the cosh, right? We've all less people, less time, but that openness and that flow of communication, and actually, for the first time, I think probably in my career, seen people sitting on one side of the table together, looking at the issue, and trying to find a solution together, as opposed to it being adversarial. In terms of finding solutions, the solutions these guys have spoken about in terms of VCC, commission payments, they're the bane of our lives as well, right? Because we want payment, and also we want to know that we've paid the commission. The amount of times it comes across my desk, it sits there and says, we haven't paid next commission, can you talk to the guys? They are, okay, fine, I'll get it sorted out. Absolutely. From our point of view, you are the lifeblood of the TMC is the lifeblood of our corporate business particularly. Now we need to be easy to work with. And vice versa, everything that we ask of you in terms of partnership, communication, data and insight, I think from everybody in the room would be something that would really assist us in moving forward and growing the corporate share of a very much smaller pie.
I'm looking at Adrian. Do you want me to keep going, or we want me to wrap up? One more? All right. So I always like to finish, for those of you that have been on panels with me before and have seen me, there's always one question I finish on. It's the same question every time, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to ask my second last question of the panel about where we're heading is, we have got a two-speed recovery at the moment. We've got regional centres and mining resource-intensive sectors going amazingly well. And then we've got our cities. And anybody who's operating a hotel in the city will know we don't have a visitor economy in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane at the moment. We've got the remnants of what used to be a critical part, and I said this before I had my last role, is hotels set the culture and the sense of place in every city. And when hotels are not firing in cities, cities don't fire. What do you think, from a TMC perspective, what's that recovery going to look like? John's spoken about that 60-70% mark at the end of the year. We would all love to be there. I think 60 to 70% would be amazing. But what's that looking like for you from a city recovery? Is there something that we need to be doing differently from a public policy perspective? Do governments have to be doing more, or is it purely a confidence play? Penny, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think it's a confidence play. We definitely... Our groups and incentive business has just gone through the roof at the beginning of this year, and it's continuing. Like, it's not every day we're getting another group to put through, and they're in the cities. So I think as confidence builds, we're going to get more and more of that.
Yeah, I agree. Our corporate retreats as well. We launched a whole package in terms of different corporate retreats for our, kind of trying to really warm up the corporate market, and they took to it, especially in Sydney and Melbourne. And so I think it's probably working. We were going out to hotel groups asking, and I think if there were more packages or more intel that you could forward our way, again, we miss our hotel partners. We miss the communication. I'll probably walk out of here and get a whole.
But your box is going to be full.
Yeah, probably being proactive to go, right, help us get these corporates back, because there is there's definitely still a hesitation and a lack of confidence. And once we have those conversations with them, that you can do 2 or 3 nights to calibrate with your team, it's definitely happening. So I agree with Penny. The same's happening with us.
Yeah, I think it's, we talk about a two-speed economy. I think we've got a two-speed corporate market happening right now. I would say that most definitely the demand is there, and we're really kind of, trying to meet that demand and bringing on more consultants, etc. But what I see right now is that we'll probably get to around a 60 or 70%, before the end of the year, pre-pandemic volume. And when I'm talking about bookings, I'm talking about the difference between an international and domestic. I still believe that it'll be probably around an 82% domestic volume, as opposed to pre-pandemic for this year at least. I think the business confidence will be there later for international travel, and as markets start to open up, because we're still seeing restrictions in a lot of markets. I'm still a little bit apprehensive. I'm flying out to Chicago, my first international trip in 2 years. That I'm apprehensive about that. I'd rather go to Positano or somewhere like that. It'd be nice. Where were you? Como, right? Like Como?
He's refusing to answer. It must have been nicer than that.
Yeah.
So I would say right now we will see a significant demand coming through in 2019, continuing, especially on the domestic front, and probably trans-Tasman. International Q4, but we're very, very positive, and I think that there's going to be a lot of demand, not only on corporate travel management companies, but on hotels and how we manage that demand moving forward.
I think the environment has definitely changed, and we're here to advocate for you to get the corporate travellers, the coalface, the road warriors back on the road, and I think that's a really important point.
Dean, we've got time for some questions from the audience. Has anyone got any questions of this distinguished panel? Up here.
Wayne from HRS, I hear you talk about flexibility. There was payment commissions. I haven't touched on sustainability. When we speak to our Fortune 500 clients, their number one global focus is sustainability. So curious to know how you incorporate sustainability into your procurement process.
that's, definitely, sorry, that was definitely missed out, but it is important. We are reporting on carbon emissions at the moment and providing, if there are any sort of green specifications, etc. We are being asked that for hotels, and that is becoming more apparent now as well.
Yeah, we conducted a survey that was done by Deloitte last year. We had about 240 of our global travel management companies respond to that survey. Sustainability was in the top 3 ranked for, how, hotel and accommodation, how do we bring that information back in? So if I look at this from an overall kind of digital data level, then I think that, the opportunity is there for hotels to be able to provide more information on their properties, which then actually is included into the sustainability programs that we have at a global level, which we report on for our global customers. The airlines have moved very fast, and I think that there's also an opportunity for hotels and large chains to be able to do the same thing, but it is absolutely top of mind, and you're right. We didn't sort of talk about it. We talked about what was the number one kind of, top of mind, but sustainability, top 3 for most of the global Fortune 500 companies that we've surveyed.
And we found this year with most of the RFPs there's a significant increase in around sustainability and CSR particularly in terms of what we were doing, and we had to have a good program to be able to respond back on that to get in the door on many of the RFPs this year.
Good question.
Thanks so much. Wonderful panel. All the best. Thank you, Adrian.